Welcome to another episode of American Heroes Outdoors. On this week's episode, we head south to Sanibel, Florida to spend some time with the Sanibel Fire Department and witness firsthand the devastation in the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. It's hard to put into words what this truly looks like. Going around Sanibel Island, looking at the homes, the businesses, the lives, the infrastructure that all perished during this hurricane. The magnitude of natural disasters like this affect our nation and our world all the time. But it's heroes like the Sanibel Fire Department that answer the call to action and run headfirst into these natural phenomenons to save lives and protect property. Great thing to witness down here is that there is hope. There's hope to rebuild and to make a new Sanibel that was better than the last one. So they're all coming together and working together for a common cause to rebuild the Sanibel area. And join us as we showcase our next Scheels hometown hero, Rod Wilson from Wisconsin.
American Heroes Outdoors shares the stories of our nation's true heroes, a documentation of journey, commitment, struggle, and healing. A glimpse into the sacrifice and bravery of our service men and women. This is American Heroes Outdoors.
Everybody, good morning and welcome to Sanibel Island, Florida. We've got a really unique situation for everybody today. We're going to spend some time with the Sanibel Fire Department. As you all know, this area was devastated at the end of September in Hurricane Ian, and the island is just actually starting to get back open a little bit. The Sanibel Fire Department's been very kind to us, and we're going to spend the day with them and look at the devastation of Hurricane Ian and what it means to the community down here in southern Florida and these first responders that do so much for us. We've also got a local resident, Chuck Haas. His home down here in Florida in the wintertime has suffered some damage along with all these other residents down here. So we're looking forward to highlighting the Sanibel Fire Department as well as Chuck Haas. So stay tuned.
It was terrifying. It really was. Just seeing our own neighborhoods and seeing how bad that was, we knew that our island community needed help, and it was bad out there.
Were you aware at that point that there was going to be fatalities? Or
honestly, in the beginning, we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know where we were going to be. You know, it was tough. We didn't know what we were going to find out there. We didn't know what our capabilities were going to do. We didn't know what could be fixed, what couldn't be fixed. It was left us doubtful at first. As soon as Hurricane Ian made its way past us, we knew that we had to get back, so we made our way back. The island of Sanibel needed help. Obviously, island of Sanibel and Fort Myers Beach, that we all needed help. So they all sent everybody. Everybody came, and they started filling that hole. We had law enforcement agencies. We had Army National Guard. We had Coast Guard. We had World Central Kitchen was coming out to feed us. Yep. We had Miami USAR team. They came over to help us with search and rescue. There was so many entities that came out to help and just wanted to lend a helping hand. And then obviously there was so many of our citizens that wanted to come out as well to help, but it was just too dangerous on the island to have them out here. It was incredible to see, and it was almost like a breath of fresh air once we started seeing all those linemen come across. There was over 100 linemen that made their way across the bridge, and all of the workers that were eventually making their way through as well. It was a breath of fresh air to see them over.
American Heroes Outdoors is brought to you by Skeeter Boats and Yamaha Outboards, Scheels, Smoky Hills Outdoor Store and Ice Castle Fish Houses, Woodland Resort, Disabled American Veterans, Ottertail Lakes Country, S&S Promotional Group, innovative sign and graphics, and Base Camp Country Real Estate.
Tell you, one of the biggest things that left us a little hopeful though is when we made our turn to head toward the island on the boat, was we saw the lighthouse standing.
Okay.
So we knew that there was some hope there.
I was in the Coast Guard for 20 years, and I was in New York for New York Harbor from 99 to 2003, so 9/11 was right in the middle. The first day that I got on the island reminded me of 9/11 as well, because on the morning of 9/11, my boat crew, we tied up in North Cove Marina, and it was like 4 in the morning, the morning after, and it was just very eerily quiet in Lower Manhattan. There was workers all being done, but it's like you couldn't hear anything. It was just silence. And so going on the island, it was the same kind of thing. It was just so quiet. You're not used to it being that quiet, because there's usually so many people and the businesses and the traffic, and there was nothing, you know, landscaping, nothing. It was just quiet, and it just had a film of like mud and dirt over everything. And so it was just very similar in those aspects. 9/11 on site, just the powder, it was I always tell people, it reminds you of what you would think of walking on the moon. You'd step in and it was like a few inches of concrete dust. Just walking on the island was similar, except for it was mud. A lot of similarities.
Boated over, waves were super choppy, still seemed like it was storming out. And when I got here, it was just apocalyptic. What used to be well-maintained roads was newly paved with mud and silt. Houses in the middle of the street. Roofs without houses, houses without roofs. Normally, it's really well-maintained, pristine, and now it's drastically different. If you showed me a picture of this before the hurricane, I'd say it was probably a different island. Normally it's filled with people.
But you know, the island will come back. You know that they'll come back, and whether it's through building or the character of the people, will come back stronger.
It's pretty humbling for me to come out here and see the kind of devastation. You know, up north and in the Midwest, we're so used to these unannounced tornadoes and the damage that they do and the swath they make. But this is so widespread and it's so impactful. And to see the selfless service that these firefighters are giving, and that the community is giving, and the state and the federal government down here, it's the best of who we are. It's never the worst of who we are at these times. It's the best of who we are. Constantly, the one message I heard all day is how everybody was here to help. We act like this country has got nothing, no future, and here it is. Places like this, people together. It doesn't matter your politics. It doesn't matter who you are. This is about people and about being an American, and that's what's cool about Sanibel Islands. You know, we're gonna go inland now. We're gonna turn inland, and we're gonna go by Chuck Haas's house. You know, a great Minnesota friend of ours, and we're gonna look at some of the damage that's happened out on the island. So stay tuned.
We're sharing more stories on our social media pages. Scheels Hometown Heroes, Sunday Service Spotlight, and more. Help us share more stories of our servicemen and women.
This was our station. At the time when we got here, we started gutting everything and getting all of the wet stuff out. These rooms, these were all bedrooms here. They were all bedrooms down this hallway. This was our living room where we watched TV. Our kitchen was here. So yeah, everything was all over the place. The refrigerators were knocked down, sofas were knocked down. It was devastating to see this station the way that it was. But like I said, they had, you know, anywhere between 3 to 5 feet of water in here alone. It took about a day or two to eventually make our way through, that we were able to get through with vehicles. And then eventually when we did, we were able to get in, gain access to it, assess our damage, and then this became another hub for all of our services that came, and all of the entities that came to help with search and rescue. This is the main hub for this area of the island. You know, it's patience, you know, that we're asking for. We're trying our best to rebuild and to get back to a sense of normalcy in which we once had. You know, it's going to take years before we can get back to it. But yeah, patience right now. There were a lot of families that were displaced. Unfortunately, they don't have homes here anymore. Just because of the storm damage. The hardest part that we experienced, and it was more heartbreaking than anything, was every time we made a rescue of that 1,000 people, was to hear the devastation and to see the devastation that this family is enduring. We're not used to seeing the community just in a loss for words, and seeing all their belongings scattered across the floor, covered in mud. And seeing their houses just destroyed. Very, very heartbreaking. The other hard part was, what we do in nature is help people. But in this particular situation, yeah, were we helping people? Sure, but we couldn't help them enough to get back to what they once had. And it was very heartbreaking for all of us.
Well, I'm Chuck Haas from Hugo, Minnesota, down here with our winter home in Sanibel, Florida. My son Mike Haas is with me. He's been doing most of all the hurricane repairs and tear outs and mucking out.
Yeah, when the hurricane first happened, loaded up my car with all my tools to get down here to help Mom and Dad's house, and sure enough, catch a boat at 7 a.m. because that's when the curfew stopped. 7 a.m. at Fort Myers Beach. Take a boat to the island. 6-mile bike ride, one way, on a bike with flat tires, going around all the houses in the middle of the roads, just to get here with only the tools I can carry on the backpack, just so I can gut the house for 10 hours. 6-mile bike ride back, catch the boat, go back, try and get some sleep, and hopefully do it again the next day.
It's the layer of silt on everything, and it's obvious that no human has been walking in this way. So I believe the house has not been looted or damaged from people. But there's clearly a lot of mess here.
I probably saw 50 people trying to do the same thing. Many people weren't fortunate enough to have a bike, and they were walking, or they had carts that they were carrying, and they did 3, 4, 5, 6 miles on foot each day. But those first few weeks, those of us that were coming over by boat and going in on bicycle, I maybe saw 20 to 30 people a day. It was amazing to see people getting in here. I didn't think too many people could do it, but they did. To their credit, they get their houses dried out. They don't have as much devastation as everyone else.
This was the water level. It went almost all the way to the top stairs. Everything was gone, and this was full of muck. Everything had to be taken out and thrown out and put in new walls.
At first, you've got to get everything in the lower level that's wet out. So you've got to peel back the wallboard, you've got to take out the insulation. Wet, destroyed possessions have to go out to the end of the street so the city and the county can come by and pick all that up. Both the vegetation from the yard as well as all your personal belongings that need to be thrown out. All of our own lanai screens, all of our own insulation. It's been nearly impossible to get contractors because the devastation means most guys have a year's worth of work already lined up. So we've had to do it all ourselves. So Dad and I have gone on YouTube and figured out how to do all the switches and breaker boxes and everything, and just get all the supplies and do it ourselves.
It's nice to see the community get back together, meeting a lot of people, a lot of support from neighbors and friends. But we've got a long way to go. We've still got a roof, and we've still got the yard, and we've got some lower level repairs to do. So there's still a lot of work left to do.
Hey everybody, what a great day out on Sanibel Island. I mean, to see the kind of devastation these people have survived, but to see the will of people and the will of these firefighters and everything they do on a daily basis is pretty darn humbling. What a group of heroes. I just can't say enough about them. It's been amazing watching this journey. Chuck Haas, a local resident who lives out here in Sanibel and feels this every day. You saw it, it's humbling. And we're gonna try to take care of these heroes down here, these firefighters, get them up north. Believe it or not, they wanna go ice fishing. I think they're crazy, but they wanna go. And so we're gonna see if we can't make that happen and thank these guys for the service they provide to the citizens of Sanibel Island. Until next time, we'll see you on American Heroes Outdoors.
Interested in supporting our mission at American Heroes Outdoors? Go to AmericanHeroesOutdoors.com to nominate your very own hero or drop a donation to support our nation's true heroes.
Welcome back to the show, and now it's time for our next Scheels hometown hero, Rod Wilson.
Well, veterans are popular now. Not in 1969 when I come home. And the support vets have. I mean, there's how many places you guys know like this around the country.
Welcome to Scheels Hometown Heroes.
Scheels Hometown Heroes is a way for us to say thanks to those that serve our country and our community.
And are still giving back to others today.
We honor your service by sharing your stories.
From all of us at Scheels, thank you for your service.
Hi, I'm Jeff Torno from Eau Claire Scheels. We are excited and happy to announce the next Scheels Hometown Hero. Congratulations, Rod Wilson from Dairyland, Wisconsin. Way to go.
Rod, will you come forward, please?
My name's Matthew Cade. I've been here a few times with Jeff Butler, and I got to meet Rod last year. And just being able to experience what y'all have here at Dover, it speaks volumes. And to see how much we're able to share that and something that you created in your vision. We understand that. But, you know, on behalf of American Hero Outdoors and Scheels, we'd like to present you with the American Hero Outdoor Hometown Hero.
I knew when I was going to get drafted. I went right to the recruiter and asked for my options, and I was pretty good draftsman in high school, and my option was enlist another year and become a draftsman to coordinate with my draft date and basic training, and the next school that started after that was map making. So I ended up in enlisted 3 years in Fort Belvoir, Washington, D.C. Everybody's in line getting our orders to go to Natrang, and did you get your school? Yep, contract fulfilled. Get on that chopper, it's gonna take you a couple days. They'll weave you up there and play cool. There I was. We circled an hour in Cameron Bay. That's my first impression. When I really knew I was over there, we circled an hour so they could clear wreckage off the runway in Cameron Bay. Big, everybody's heard of that, big place. Thing, it's 12 hours from Dairyland. During the night, I'd look at the Big Dipper over there and knew that my brothers and my folks saw the same thing. I look for that every clear night. I remember that. Well, I come home and I was quiet, nobody to talk to. But this place, I talked to vets, a lot of them my age.
I had heard about Dover 10, 11, 12, 13 years ago, but all I heard about them was that they were doing a lot of fundraising. And I would ask people, it's like, well, I hear that group up in Dairyland, they're doing fundraising for something, but what are they doing with all the money? And so I finally, about 5 years ago, I drove up one day coming off the river, and I drove in and there was the duplex and the lodge, and I met Rod and a couple other guys, and I started hearing more and more about what they were doing. And I said, well, I've got a group of vets that I'd like to stay here and do a muskie trip in the fall and rent your cabin. He said, well, you're a veteran, you can rent it and use this as your base. So it felt comfortable. You know, it felt like the people were right. Rod and I hit it off right away. And the fly fishing is, I've been saying it for years, it's magical. And I saw the magic happen again today out there.
And it's a camaraderie kind of a thing. Everybody's got a story, you know, a typical Army. Forget about watching the news. Good people are places like this.
What another great episode. You know, having to witness Sanibel Island, the destruction and the devastation firsthand was something that you can't put into words. And even talking to these true heroes as they went through the process of responding to a natural disaster, it's something that they'll remember for the rest of their lives. And not only the devastation and destruction that natural disasters bring, but in the aftermath of the destruction and disaster, humanity is going to be okay, especially with heroes like the Sanibel Fire Department on the watch. This episode was able to capture true hope, and patriotism is alive and well in the United States of America. Join us next week as we head out to the Madison, Wisconsin area to support HHA USA and their Mission 24, which includes the Beast Mode Archery Challenge, a competition unlike any other.